Good morning, and I thought it was time we do a little bit of an update on how we're going with Go Karting, because we've been doing it now for about 3 months and we've just finished our 5th race meeting. So yeah, this video is just about a bit of an update about racing and where we are at the moment. So Go Karting, as you probably gathered, it's one of those sports that basically if you do it, you race. If you go to the trouble, that is, of buying your own go-kart for the most part, because it's a little bit different, or I think it's different to something like sailing, where you might go out and just pleasure sail and cruise around, or you know, as a swimmer, yep, there's the competitive side, but you know, you might just have the fitness side where you go and swim in the morning. Or people who run, they might just run for fitness too. And there's a whole heap of activities and sports like that. But go-karting, if you go to the trouble of basically going and getting your own go-kart and setting it up and things like that, you're generally doing it with one purpose in mind, that's to race other people in organised races. And that was always, of course, the intention. It's a very competitive sport, but I like competition. And yeah, so after 32 years, we're back into it. We've been racing. How have we gone? Well, I kind of set myself a goal, because you have to go onto P plates when you start, and notwithstanding the fact that I went through this rigmarole all those years ago, because of the time I've spent away, I had to go back on P plates. And the current requirements is you've got to have essentially 4 clean meets, finishing, I think it's 75% of the laps. So when I say clean meet, I mean basically not getting a major infringement. I won't go so far as to say not paying a visit to the stewards, because you can pay a visit to them for all sorts of reasons, and I'll get back to that. But yeah, essentially 4 clean meets, and then you can come off your P plates. You go from a D to a C license, and then you have to do a further 6 races, and you're off your P's by then. You can race without your P's, but if you want to go to a B license, you're going to have a further 6 meets. And there are different things you can do with a B license, like racing in certain unrestricted categories, which is a consideration for us, as I might go into a Masters category, which I'll talk about down the track. Anyway, first meet we went to was Barossa. Lots of memories there, because that was my first race meeting in '91 and my last race meeting. The track's changed a bit since then. I really enjoy driving there, except for the fact it is pretty brutal. It's got some bumps in unpleasant places, and you need to ride the curbs if you're going to be fast. But we went there just for a club meeting, and I just thought, you know what, bring the car home, bring yourself home without any damage, and if there are places there for the taking, all well and good, but no really risky moves. And I already had a bit of an injury, and I was really quite sore from some practice I'd done, so I was really wondering whether I was going to do the meet or not. But I took a few anti-inflammatories, off we went, we did the meet. And it was an evening meet, which made it interesting, because we were racing under floodlights as well later on. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, I was completely spent by the end of the night, but it was a lot of fun, and I basically ticked all those boxes, had a few good races with people in my first meet. I thought the car performed really well, and it gave me a lot of confidence moving forward that hopefully with some work we'd be pretty good at this. Then came the second meet, and I thought I'd go and do a race at a place I've never raced before, which was Monado. It's one of the major tracks in South Australia, and it has lots of different configurations. So this was B track, and it was again just a club meeting. And yeah, lots of firsts at this meet. First time at Monado, which is about an hour away from where I live. First time and this is, there were a few little cold tyre incidents at Barossa. I had a few more, but this was limited to practice and qualifying. First time spinning in the practice lane, that happened in qualifying. Then first time spinning in qualifying and getting involved in a crash, because a lot of people came and round the corner where I'd spun. But we got through that. Then first time to the stewards, which again, as I said, I will come back to, and that was for a really minor infringement I had no idea about, namely not straddling the tram lines. It's one of these reasonably new rules in the grand scheme of things. We certainly didn't have it years ago, and I got called up there and they said, do you know what you've done? I go, nah, not a clue. And they go, you went over the tram lines before the lights went out, which is the start of the race. So you've got to go down, you're essentially in between these lines, whether you're on the left or the right of the grid on a rolling start. So I got a 3-second penalty, which didn't really affect anything, and ultimately only the final counted anyway, which leads me to the next first, which was first result, which we completely jagged. By the time the final came, we were actually running reasonably competitive lap times, and I found myself 4th in class, and lo and behold, the person who was running 3rd spun out, and we inherited the place. So when we went into the in-grid, because we were racing also with the heavies, they worked out the results afterwards, and there's a few really quick heavies that had moved through. I'm in medium weight, and Craig, who's been looking after me at the track, came up and said, I think you finished 3rd in class. And that's pretty good, isn't it? We jagged a result. And yeah, it was a really, really nice way to end the meeting. First top 3, first trophy in the go-kart meet ever. Didn't get anything in 91. What then? Okay, on the strength of that, we went to Whyalla, first meet away, camping, which was a good opportunity for me and Karen, who's my partner and has been helping me at all of these races, in the pits and on the starting grid, on the in-grid as well. We went to Whyalla, we camped at the track. I used to live in Whyalla years ago, so it's the first time I ever raced a go-kart there, or drove on the go-kart track. And yeah, bit frustrating Whyalla, trying to get to learn the new track, and I had a number of offs in practice at the same corner. Just couldn't get it right, and there's a nice big gravel trap waiting for you, and I found the gravel trap a number of times. It just so happened there was a photographer there taking photos, and wouldn't you know it, he got a whole heap of them of me going off into the gravel trap. Not once in the first practice, not twice in the second practice, but 3 times, ladies and gentlemen. I went off in the 3rd practice as well at the same point, which left us with 1 practice session. Most of it I was sitting or standing by the fence watching everyone go around. Totally compromised our race weekend, just trying to get to know the track. Anyway, on to qualifying. I managed to improve a bit, and then with the races, they gradually got a little bit competitive again by lap time. It wasn't like a really great performance. Following Minato, I was a little bit disappointed, but it is what it is. It was a learning experience, and oh yeah, I hadn't witnessed a rollover since coming back. I've since witnessed I've been at meets where there's been a couple, but there was one right next to me, and it happened on the warm-up lap, believe it or not. So it just shows how easily and quickly these things can happen. So that was red flagged. We got restarted. Luckily, the person involved was okay, although they were trapped under the cart for a little bit, which, yeah, these incidents can be a bit scary, but they do happen, and upwards and onwards. And unfortunately, in the next race, I avoided a spin in front of me on cold tyres, and in moving to the side to avoid it, I ended up taking out the same person, which was obviously accidental, but it's one of those things that happens, and it happens a lot when you have cold tyres and people spinning on cold tyres at the start, and everyone taking avoiding action. Unfortunately, it causes pandemonium. And I've noticed that since coming back, they do really have this tendency to do less warm-up laps. So back in the day, I think we had 2 or 3 warm-up laps and then a formation lap. Not now, not now. It's basically 1 warm-up lap, 1 formation lap, go. And the amount of people spinning on cold tyres at the start or even beforehand trying to warm them up, yeah, but that's just to try and make the race programs shorter to get things done. So by the time we got to the final, I felt the performance had improved a bit, but it was really just a good opportunity to get away, learn the track a little bit more, because we will go back. And that led us to Bolivar for a club meet at Southern Go Kart Club, which I'm a member, and I've done a fair few laps of particularly the more classic layout. There's an extension, and I've driven that too, but I'm not as comfortable on the full extended layout. So driving that layout, it wasn't too bad. We didn't have a great result, but the lap times were very encouraging. Like, we were really moving in the right direction, and it would have gone completely unnoticed by most people because we were not finishing where our lap times would have put us. But that's okay. I don't really mind that. It's a learning experience, and again, it comes down to consistency, isn't it? Doesn't it? It's not just about doing a few lap times. It's about doing it the whole way through and doing it on cold tyres. So we left there, and then we entered another meet at Monado, and this time it was around the A track, the longer full layout there, and I really wasn't sure what to expect. Monado being so far away, I really wanted to get practice in. I'd taken out a 6-month membership for that purpose, but it is a bit of a hassle getting up there. Nevertheless, a week before the meet, so this meet was the weekend we've just had, a week before I was up there practicing on A track, but it was in wet weather. So yeah, first time practicing on wet tyres in wet weather, and that was quite good, but I didn't really get a grasp of what you could do around A track in the dry. But had it rained, then we would have been in a better position had we not had that practice. So we went to the meet. Ceremonial removing of the key plates. Still a rookie, just not as much of a rookie. You don't actually have to tell everyone else you're a rookie. There we go, gone. Can't say much about the cleaning, that's on me. And it was a similar layout, or a similar schedule I should say, to Whyalla, 4 sets of practice sessions. We didn't lose 3. We did lose 1 because we lost a chain, unfortunately, and we weren't really getting to where I wanted to get. Got to qualifying, I wasn't happy with that at all, and we ended up starting 11th, and that was kind of where we, pace-wise, where we found ourselves for a while, until we found a little bit more pace. And what happened is I was playing around with sprockets, and eventually, after reviewing the footage, we made some changes to the driving, and by the last heat, the one before the final, I actually thought we were doing lap times again that would have put us maybe 2 or 3 positions further ahead than where we were. Anything can happen in the final, as happened the first time we went to Monado. Got to the final, yeah, it didn't really work out in our favour this time. Straight away, there was a lot of argy-bargy at the beginning. There was a bit of contact ahead of me, so I fell back thinking this could turn into a big accident. And a few people took advantage of that, and I found myself dicing for positions up the back. nevertheless, I thought, all right, well, that's the game now. We've got to just get these 2 positions back that are ahead of me. And I was setting myself up for that, and they were having their own battle. They were right wheel to wheel. I was on the outside. Thought I might have an opportunity to get past, and then suddenly the car in front of me, just to the left, moved quickly to the right, and I moved to the right to avoid them, because it could have been a fairly nasty collision. I went straight onto the grass and spun out, and by the time I rejoined, that was it. Game over, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we finished at the back of that one, but it is what it is, and that's racing. That's racing. We came back this time with no damage to the car. I can't say that's happened at all the other ones, because I've come back with bent rear axles twice, and yeah, that costs a few dollars to get fixed. But it's been a fairly encouraging beginning. We've got a few more meets to do in the near future. I'm planning to run hopefully 2 cameras on the car and start talking about races as we progress. And there's the Enduro, which I'm hoping to enter with a real gun of a co-driver, and we'll talk more about that later, presuming it goes ahead. But that's quite exciting. So yeah, it's been an interesting start to get back into racing, and early days, but I am looking forward to where we can take this, so stay tuned.